My friends, I hope that you're having yourselves a wonderful Wednesday. Welcome to Ask Andy Anything. I am your guy, Andy, with hopefully some answers to some of your questions that you've sent through. Thanks ever so much, gang, by the way, for helping us out with all the questions that you're sending through. Really do appreciate it. We really do. FYI, I've just got Instagram going on over here if you see me glancing off over to my left. I hope you're all having a great day so far in Victoria, Melbourne. The sun is trying its best to brighten up our lives, which is wonderful. There's some interesting rumours, debates and potential news going on about maybe going to stage 4 in Melbs on Friday. And look, gang, if it happens, it happens. There's not a lot we can do about it, but we can certainly do something with how we go about our lives through it. All right. I mean, the Kiwis did an absolutely fine job. I was messaging one or two of them, one of my auctioneering fraternity brothers over there in New Zealand, and we were sort of having a bit of a chat about how you can get through it, and they did a pretty damn good job. So, gang, if it does happen, don't panic yourselves too much, all right, because we can still try and do things to help each other out, move forward with everything that's going on. All right, now 3 questions, 3 different topics, by the way, as well. One, well, I suppose a couple of them real estate. One of them is more around education. Obviously, we've got a little bit more time on our hands, potentially, to maybe listen to a couple more audio books or to read a couple more books at night time or whatever after the kids have gone to bed, so on and so forth. Yeah, we've got 3 really cool questions, which hopefully will shed some light for you guys and give you some guys a bit of an assistance moving forward, particularly in the real estate space. But if you are elsewhere in business land, I'm sure you can take 1 or 2 things as well. Now, let us rock and indeed roll. But before, we've got Philip Robertson. Thank you so much for joining us, Phil. Hey, legend, how's your day going out of 10? Now, this, I'm going to actually start with this. This is an absolutely brilliant question to ask your team members. And I've mentioned this with respect to PM teams as well. You know, there was one PM that messaged me privately and said that she knows that there's a teammate that's struggling. And I mentioned this exact question from the crew at 100words.com.au. My day out of 10 right now is probably hovering around a 7.3. It's not going too bad at all, actually. Having a pretty good day. I worked really late last night, just clearing the decks with a few things, with simplifying the marketing side of things and getting a few of my clients move forward with that, which is really cool. So today I've got a really good opportunity to do some stuff for myself, which is really great. I've got a really cool video shoot coming up tomorrow, which I'm really excited about, and we're going to be doing it all appropriately as per social distancing and so on and so forth. But the team at Real Multimedia, Phil and the gang there, that I've got a really good partnership that we've started, which will, you know, I think will help us both go really far forward in what it is that we want to do. All right. We've got Gordon Jenkins. Hello to you, Gordon. He's a 10 because he's watched. Oh, bless you, mate. Flattery gets you everywhere with me, my friend. Flattery gets you everywhere. You know that as much as anyone else. Gordon Jenkins, by the way, great networking coach, amazing strategy creator with regards to businesses moving forward and so on and so forth. So definitely get in touch with him. And Phil Robinson, by the way, he's putting all together an amazing initiative around mental health space, but it's all mental health and wealth and all sorts of stuff, which is brilliant. So he's a guy that you want to be saying hello to as well if you are into that mental health side of things. All right. Let us crack on. Thank you so much to everybody that's joined us so far. If you have any questions while we're cracking on, please feel free to pipe up in the comments, and we'll do our best to get through to them. First question that's been sent through is, how do I come up with new content? Now, this was a question that was actually posed to me by a financial planner a few days ago, and it's something that I've mentioned to a couple of my business networking friends and what have you, but I thought I related very much to the real estate space, because in Victoria, if we go to stage 4, this is one thing that we're going to have a hell of a lot of time to do. We are really are. And because internally, from a family perspective, the difference really between stage 3 and stage 4, it's not tremendously different in the respect that we're allowed to go to the shop and come back. You know, if you're taking stage 3 seriously enough, then really you should be kind of doing the sort of stuff that stage 4 entails anyway. So we're going to have lots of time on our hands to do some content and get real about this. All right. Now, a couple of points that I want to make towards you real estate professionals, my colleagues, my friends, my counterparts on the front line. I want to say a couple of general points first and foremost, and I'm just gonna shoot from the hip with a couple of these. Firstly, and this is a point for general business owners. The thing is, right, we all kind of know what we know. We know our stuff. And the problem that comes with that is that we kind of get in our own way with regards to creating content. I've fallen into the trap of it myself massively, where because we find things really obvious, we decide that it's not worth putting on wax, i.e. on a video or on a little meme or something of that sort of nature, because we find it obvious and therefore surely everybody else knows it. We need to firstly get out of our way. We need to get out of our own way when it comes to creating content. At the end of the day, gang, it doesn't matter how simple or how daft you think the content level is in terms of its simplicity, you will 100% garner a couple of friends or a couple of followers by going to the depths of simplicity within your role. It's a really crucial thing to understand because we do like to complicate stuff as business owners. And when it comes to the real estate space, as real estate professionals, we seem to always be trying to find the next big thing that we can spruik to our consumers. Well, and this is going to go into my next point. We think that we're trying to spruik to our consumers, but we're actually just spruiking to ourselves, making ourselves feel better. When, as a matter of fact, within the sales space, generally vendors are in a 5 to 6 month cycle, right? Generally, vendors are in a 5 to 6 month cycle with their journey, and then they'll shut off. And there are so many people that are coming into this space when it comes to selling, for example, that are brand new to it. There are so many people in the space that are brand new to renting, or they're brand new to buying, or whatever the case may be. So you really can't discount these people, because these could be the foundation for an incredible amount of long-term success if you catch them at the very beginning of their cycle with some really basic information that you guys put out there as real estate professionals. So really don't discount going back to basics with some of the stuff that you are putting out. Now, the other thing to remember when it comes to getting out your own way is the fact that we are very much sorry, it's completely distracted by a really funny comment. We're very much, we're still trying to be too professional when we are very much in a humanity sort of space right now. We are, look, I mean, I'm out in my war room, in my shed, and I will explain that picture very shortly, Maria. But at the end of the day, I'm putting out content, because if I connect with one more person, then that's a win for me. That is an absolute win for me. And you real estate professionals need to understand there's no point trying to go out and entertain thousands of people. You need to entertain one at a time with everything that it is that you do. Really critical that you get your head around that. It's not vanity metrics, especially now during these COVID lockdown, uncertain times. People want humanity. They want people to be real, to be relatable. That is where you can really win, and do it for free. So all it takes is a laptop or a phone, and you're away. So, gang, really get your head around getting out of your own way when it comes to creating content. Now, the second one, make sure you always keep in mind who you are marketing to, who you are trying to communicate to. I'm drawing a line in the sand with this, gang. Enough of the pictures of you in a suit or with a fancy watch that you, geez, this thing, I forgot to put it on today. Stop it. Stop it. It's ridiculous. It makes you look stupid in the eyes of the consumer. Now, yes, you might pander to a few egos within the industry. Granted, that might well happen. But stop it, because all you're doing is alienating yourselves and our profession from our consumers, which are the important people in our game, believe it or not. Oh, it really does get on my tits, this one. Put some socks on. Hopefully that gets a message through to some of you as well. Put some bloody socks on. Now, I don't mind individualization, right? I really am totally cool with individualization and personalization, and that is something I'm absolutely advocating. But you can't have style without substance. You can't just fanny around, just blurbing some line that you stole off some business coach in the US and expect to go inspiring action in consumers. All you are doing, gang, is making yourself feel better. Now, if you want to do that occasionally, then great. That's absolutely cool. We all need to make ourselves feel good, and I get that. But doing it all the time and expecting to inspire people to want to work with you, it's bullshit. Absolute bollocks. I'm sorry, but it is. In the end of the day, if you're, and I'm not knocking materialistic stuff. All right. It's not like I would kick a Maserati or something like that out of bed. It's not like I wouldn't be happy with one if that was where my life was at. Right. So don't get me wrong on that point. Right. I'm all for enjoying the fruits of your labor and all that sort of stuff. Big time. All for that. But don't for 1 minute think that you need to be spruiking that the entire time. Even if you are working with vendor demographics, for example, that are uber duper high end, right? That are really high end, types, really high end people that are dealing in multi-million-dollar mansions and so on and so forth, right? I get the appeal from their side of things when it comes to your branding, when it comes to things like cars and things and stuff like that, stuff of that nature. But at the same time, we are all human. Even those real top high flyers are human. And yes, they're going to want a degree of presentation when it comes to their agent representation. Absolutely 100%. Completely agree with that. But at the same time, you've got to make sure that you appeal to the buyer demographic as well. You've got to make sure that you appeal, unless you're going to go ridiculously niche and only do multi-million-dollar mansions, then you've got to get over yourselves. You've got to get over your egos. You ain't impressing anyone. I mean, look, you've got loads of people that will just tick a little emoji or whatever, and you might get yourself 150 likes on your image, but at the end of the day, gang, likes don't pay the bills. Likes don't pay the bills. It's all vanity metrics. It'll make you feel great, but you ain't going to be able to afford that Lambo or that Maserati for much longer. You're on borrowed time, especially in this economy, in this world. It's all about volume of people that you can help. That is what is going to create long-term success. GCI. Stop spruiking your GCI. Stop it. Stop spruiking your GCI, because all you're doing is making consumers think that you're getting paid too much. Oh, breathe, really, breathe. Just does my head in. We're just never thinking about our consumers as a profession in the majority of cases. All we're doing is trying to make ourselves look amazing to other people in the game. Who gives a shit? The real rock stars in our industry are the ones that are going about their business and helping more people move their lives forward via real estate. They're the ones that are winning. They're the real rock stars of this game, not the show ponies. Because show ponies have no substance whatsoever. The ones that have got substance and their own style, they're the ones that are inspiring action. So get out of your own ego and actually make things happen for other people. Because that's what we're supposed to do. Anyway, so off my soapbox. I do apologize if I ranted on a little bit, but it had to be said. Personalization, individualization, 100% because it makes you relatable. But don't go ramming your fancy watch or your really cool waistcoated suit and whatnot Right now, all you're doing is upsetting the masses. All you're doing is upsetting the people that pay your checks, because a load of people are struggling, if you believe it or not, if you hadn't realised. So maybe be a little bit more human, a bit more relatable. You have the fancy stuff, that's totally cool, but have it as part of an overall thing. If you're going to let people into your life, make sure that you show them the whole picture. That's how you inspire action. Now, in terms of creating types of content, here is a picture that I drew earlier. A little bit Blue Peter for those of you in the UK. So this is a really good example of what a mind map can do when it comes to content creation. So generally speaking, a lot of business owners and a lot of real estate professionals really struggle to come up with content. And a lot of the time, like I said, they kind of get in their own way because they think things are too simple. They're not. And this is a really good exercise to give you a really good idea as to how many pieces of content you can create from one particular part of your job. So say, for example, I've put vendors in the middle there, right? And then from there, you've got your initial ring of stuff. So strategy, price, commission, legals, presentation, the general conversation pieces that vendors have with you. Okay, then from there you break it down. So with strategy, you got private sale, auction, price and application, or price upon interest, fixed day sale, or that sort of private sale hybrid type scenario. And then from there you've got pros and cons, mechanics, common misconceptions. Once you've gone from a main part of what it is that you do within your role, you then do the various components of one main portion of what you do. You then break each component down into the various elements. So this is mind mapping, by the way, for those of you that don't know. And here is the big one. Here is the real bonus point tip that you need to take on board if you're going to be doing something like this when it comes to content creation. Take it to someone, once you've done a mind map, take it to someone that isn't in your industry. Take it to someone that isn't in the real estate profession and ask them if the outer ring is broken down enough for them in terms of simplicity. So I just did a really quick one there on vendors, and I haven't finished it, and there's about 26 individual pieces of content on there. You can then do a graphic and a video on those, which multiplies that to 52. You see where I'm going with this, guys? And each piece of content doesn't have to be 5 minutes long. It can just be 30 seconds. Little grabs of content, short and sharp and quick, less thinking, more doing. It gives you more opportunities to be seen on a feed that is getting consumed a hell of a lot more right now. But that is just on vendors. You could create, like, if I carried on with that, I reckon I'd probably end up with about 130, 140 odd pieces of content. If you go down to things like definitions and all that sort of stuff, just on vendors. Hopefully that gives a bit of an idea as to how far you can go with this and how easy it can be in order to create content. Okay. And think about that in any type of business. It's a really good way of going about it. And less thought, more doing. And like I said, I will put on this feed as well InShot, which is a really cool free app, which I'd highly recommend that you get. It's a really easy to use editing tool for if you want to put your logo on things and whatnot. All right. So that's a really good way to come up with new content, a very simple way of doing it. Do a mind map, break everything down as far as you can, and then show it to someone that is not within your industry. Very, very important that, because then you'll find that there'll probably be a few more coming off the back of that as well. Hopefully that is a good start. First question from Gordon. Chocolates or ice cream? I'm an ice cream man. I prefer fruit to chocolate. Like, so if there's a dessert menu, it's a question here, gang, for those of you on Instagram, from Gordon Jenkins, chocolates or ice cream. I'm a fruit sort of dessert kind of guy. Like, I like strawberries and stuff like that, as opposed to real decadent chocolate stuff. I really go for that sort of jazz. Sweet, sour stuff as well, like tarts and, citrus fruit type things. I'm a real big fan of that. So I'd probably go ice cream, mate, to be honest. That's probably my penchant. That's probably my sort of tipple. Now, next question that we're going to come up with is what books do you recommend during lockdown? This was a really cool little question. And I'm not I really didn't have the patience for books for a long time in my life. I don't know how on earth I ended up getting a degree. Like, I really scraped by the skin of my teeth through that. I really probably should have read more. But what I've found with audiobooks, especially because I've realized over the last few years that I'm a massive auditory learner. I'm a huge auditory learner. And that is one thing that you really need to understand before you go trying and learning stuff. Try and work out how you learn best. I swear, if audiobooks were around when I was in school, I'd be a damn sight more intelligent than what I am now. And that's for sure. That is absolutely for sure. I've got a whole bunch of books, though, that I reckon would be a really good idea for you to have a read of or a listen to during these lockdown times, especially if you go to stage 4 and you do have a little bit more time on your hands. It's time to expand the mind, guys. Now, I've done it in a few different layers. So I've got a fundamental layer of books, and then a couple of really good books in terms of taking those fundamentals to another level, and then a little bit more of practicality type books that I'm really keen on. So, and I'll bang all these down in the comments as well. So the first 3 for me are real musts in your life. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen. If you haven't read that, Stephen Covey, you've really got to. You have to understand that, and understand that with that book, the whole point of the book is to achieve interdependence, which is the whole nature of life. We were all born as human beings, as things in the universe. We're all born to be interdependent with each other. We can't survive. We don't exist without one another. It's as simple as that. So 7 habits, but always think about how each habit applies to you achieving interdependence in life. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Take that in small chunks, guys. Take it in small chunks, believe me, because it's a fictional type story, but the amount of messages that are within loads of that book is insane. So just read a little bit, then think a little bit, then listen to a little bit, then think a little bit. Take that a little bit slower, because you'll miss some stuff. You really will. If you're a speed reader, or if you really just want to listen to it and you get really into it, make sure you listen to it like 4 or 5 or 6 times in order to get a lot of the messages that are within that piece of gold. And Awaken the Giant Within, Tony Robbins. I reckon now is a really good time to plug into that book, gang. Now especially is a really, really good time to plug into that one. That's one of his earlier works before he got uber duper mega successful and well known. For me, it's probably his best one. That's just my humble opinion. So Awaken the Giant Within. Now, the next layer, there's 2 books that for me go hand in hand. 2 books that for me go hand in hand. One of them is called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and the other one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, both of those, so Atomic Habits was kind of written by James Clear off the back of and as an extension of The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Now, habits are ridiculously important, and when it comes to the whole topic of struggling with motivation, if you've got something set in as a habit, you've got certain things that are set as a habit, you won't need motivation because they will become automatic things and actions that you take, right? So habits, I think, are something that as a topic that we really, again, we very much need to focus on, especially right now. So read The Power of Habit or listen to The Power of Habit first, and then go to Atomic Habits, or you can just, Atomic Habits is a standalone piece of work that is absolutely outstanding, and it will advance your life. Of that, I have no doubt whatsoever. But if you do listen to Atomic Habits, you're going to kind of want to read or listen to Power of Habit afterwards anyway, because it really puts it into grand scale context. Talks about Starbucks, it talks about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers turnaround in the NFL, in the American football, and a couple of amazing examples as to how changing very simple habits can make ridiculous sizes of change. It's really, really interesting book. So those 2, and then in terms of entrepreneurship, businessy type stuff, 10X. By Grant Cardone. I know that a lot of people, I can only take him in small doses, to be fair, and some of the stuff I really don't agree with, but I think his 10X book is a really, really powerful bit of kit that you need to get your laughing gear around. Dare to Lead, Brené Brown. That one's an awesome one. The way that she converses is incredible, by the way. A ridiculous amount of emotional intelligence, yet really to the point, like really like smacks you, which is really nice. And the One Thing by Gary Keller. I've mentioned this in a previous episode already. For me, one of the easiest to consume books that can make a profound impact on your life. The One Thing by Gary Keller. Notable mentions: The Power of Connection by Rick Rushton, my mentor, friend, and top dog. Generally speaking, he's a really cool guy to be following as well. Those are the ones that I really would want to get my laughing gear around while I'm in this sort of phase of my life or my career or of society with regards to lockdowns and stuff. Okay, so those are the books that I would tend to read. Now, the last question for today: how can I convert off-market listings to on-market? There's a hell of a lot of off-market stuff going on right now. A lot, because I talk to a lot of buyer advocates, right? And they are all saying to me, that they've got the buyers, they just haven't got the stock. So therefore, if they haven't got the relationships with the agents, then they're not going to get that off-market stock communicated to. Couple of points. There's a little bit of an adjunct here. Agents, reach out and connect with as many buyer advocates as you possibly can. I don't know why parts of our profession think that buyer advocates are the enemy. It is the opposite. They want to get deals done as well. They have buyers that need to get deals done in order for those advocates to get paid. Yes, they'll negotiate, but that's part of the fun of our job, right? That's part of fun. Whenever I see a buyer advocate at an auction, I'm rubbing my hands because at least I know I've got a buyer. So if you communicate and connect with lots and lots of buyer advocates, if they knock on your door, it means they've got someone and they've done the qualifying for you. It's pretty cool if you ask me. Doesn't affect your commission as a listing agent. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know. I don't see the point in not collaborating with buyer advocates. I just think it's a no-brainer for me. And if you ask them, if you speak to some of them, chances are there'll be some collaboration that you can do, referral commissions and all that sort of jazz. Because if as a listing agent, you'll be working in, a lot of the time, you'll be working in one specific farming area or one specific municipality. And generally speaking, a lot of your vendors will sell through you to go to somewhere completely different where you've got no stock. Chances are a buyer advocate might be able to help you out with that and then take on your vendor and then get a deal for that vendor, and then might give you a referral commission off the back of that. Obviously being open hands about it with your clients, of course. Have a think about it, gang. Interdependence, it's the future. I've tasted it. Really important. So when it comes to going from off to on, first thing, obviously, which I'm sure a bunch of you are doing, is listen. Not rocket science, this, right? You got to listen to the reasons as to why they are fearful of going onto the market. There's no point trying to just going out and convincing them. You've got to actually listen to the reasons that are causing fear and anxiety that is preventing them from going on the market. At the end of the day, the barrier of entry will be in their heads, and it'll be there for a reason. You got to try and find that reason, and then try and see if you can work out if that reason can be resolved with all of the skills and knowledge and ability and networks that you have. Try and do that first, instead of just trying to beat him onto the market. Oh, look, we've got a buyer. I reckon if you go on the market now, we'll get more buyers. See, it's a bit of a throwaway line, which might be true, but because of how we bastardized it and overused and abused it, it's kind of falling on deaf ears, gang, if you'd actually pay attention to your consumers. So actually try and have a listen. Two of them, one of them, use them in conjunction, use them in the right ratio, and see if you can actually resolve their concerns, because their concerns, chances are, got nothing to do with the actual transaction of the property. Probably got a lot more to do with media perception or timing or COVID fears with regards to their health and hygiene and all that sort of stuff. All right. So see if you can actually work through their fears with them And then it'll be a slower burn as opposed to fear of loss and scaremongering them into the market and bullying them into the market. You can go 80s if you want to. But for me, I would much rather work through them on a slow burn process to work through their fears. Now, the next one that really will help with keeping connection with some of these people and allow them to trust you more, that means that when you do say, look, I reckon we really need to look rock and roll now, they're probably going to be more likely to trust you with that recommendation, is video SMSs, video messages. Much better than hiding behind a telephone or the perception of what you are doing, which is hiding behind a telephone, right? Very important. I think that's really critical. Lots of agents have started hiding behind the e-wall as well because they're in front of their laptop so much of the time that they're relying way too much on passive communication, which is via email. For one, it takes longer than just speaking into a video and pressing send. Takes a lot longer, by the way. But two, they just feel that this is the issue. This is the problem that we could be facing if we're not careful as a profession. If we forget to keep communicating to people, we will lose the art of communication really, really quickly. And then when the market does come back on, you'll be rusty and you'll miss out on so much opportunity if you're not careful, all right? So video messages and results, and relate it when you're providing information. Don't just say we've had 20 million buyers go through 5 properties this Saturday, you best come on the market, because that's just going to make them feel that, well, hold on, they've got 20 million buyers, maybe they can just shift one through mine and we can have it done, and Robert's your father's brother. You've got to be clever. Actually think about how you're communicating that information, because all you're doing in a lot of respects, g'day Sky, I hope you're well. A lot of the time what you're doing in some respects is actually giving them reasons to stay off the market, to be perfectly frank. So what you need to do is take that information and give them valid reasons as to why it means that they should go on the market. So you would say something along the lines of, look, the ones that stole all the limelight, that are hogging the limelight by being on the market right now, we had 20 go through this one specific property by a private inspection, and they are people that came to the property, not us farming out to those buyers, which meant that they were already pre-qualified in terms of the spec of the home, the look of the home, the feel of the home potentially, and they were kind of already halfway there, and they were even more so because of the fact they were prepared to take the chance and coming out during lockdown in order to come and see the property. You might want to think about turning that flow of traffic from us trying to drag people to you to them wanting to come to you by being on the marketplace. Now, if it's a cost-cutting thing, then talk about benefits of social media and how consumption is increased. That would be a really good way if you want to try and avoid going on realestate.com and going through those major expenses. Think about a social media strategy that may benefit them and actually help to save some of their costs. Because ultimately, by being on social media, that is being on the marketplace. It is. And it does my head in when people say off-market listing, but then put all of the pictures and the address onto Facebook. How is that off the market? That's just off realestate.com. Realestate.com is not the market. Where your consumers are is the market. And I'm telling you now, as big as realestate.com is, there's a hell of a lot more people on Facebook. So by saying that it's an off-market thing by being on social media, it's kind of nonsense. It's nonsensical, and all you're doing is working within your own mind, and you're thinking as an agent instead of thinking about your consumers. And then the thing is, when we get agents that say, "Look, sold off Facebook," wonderful, that's amazing. I love that. I love it. But don't say it's off market, because by selling it on Facebook, it means it has been sold, which therefore it must be on a market in some way, shape or form. You can even go as far as to argue if you broadcast it to your database, it's classified as on the market, because you are giving out the information to the marketplace, even if it's to 140 buyers as opposed to the thousands of people on realestate.com, right? You're still putting it to a market. I think we need to think about our terminology with all that. I know that this is a bit of a topic of conversation around the traps, but I think we really need to just clarify this once and for all. As soon as you broadcast it to a population of some degree, where how big or small it is on a marketplace of some description, because your marketplace is defined by where your consumers are, right? Now, the last one with this is going from a cold cell to a much more warmer cell. And I kind of mentioned it before when it comes to changing the direction of your buyer motivation from getting dragged to something to getting enticed to something via marketing. And especially when we're in this sort of period of time right now, so especially in Victoria, there's lots more people that are going to be doing their shopping online. It's a fact. And they are much less likely to be trusting an agent's word about a property that the agent says, look, I reckon this one's the one for you. I'm certain it is. They are a lot less likely to be trusting you. They're going to want to see pictures before they risk their health and safety in order to go out to a property. So at the very least, you need to be talking to your vendors that you've got listed off market. We've got to, at the very least, get some photos taken so that you can at least show people the internals of the property and the look and feel of the property, so that then they can make a decision about whether it's worth them risking their health in order to come out to the home. All right. So it's that for me is a no-brainer. You really, at the very least, need to get some photography done. And the other thing is my counterparts, my professional friends in the real estate space, make sure that you cover yourself and you have a strategy with the off-market stuff. Don't just list something off-market and hope for the best. You absolutely have to have a time frame set as to how long you're going to be off-market for. You have to. Otherwise, you are running the risk of not being able to do all of the work that you want to do with the property. If you just do a 30-day off-market authority, for one, you're not really backing yourself too much for point one. Point two, yeah, you might be trying to think like you're doing the best thing for your vendors, but in all essence, you kind of might be doing the wrong thing by the vendors as well by not setting a time frame in place. Because if you let that time frame blow out, so say for example you do an off-market authority but it's got like 90 days on it and you think that you're covered there, if you let that drift along for 90 days without a plan of attack in terms of strategic planning with regards to that listing, then you're just going to let their timeframes drift out 90 days, and then they're going to blame you for wasting their time. And then they'll go on the market with another agent. Fact. So make sure if you are going to do and entertain off-market stuff, set a time frame, set a strategy in place that you all follow to and relate all of your conversations to when it comes to dealing with purchases. But the big one there for me, I think the market and the macro conditions of COVID is making it more necessary to go on the market, not less, because you need to give the buying population an opportunity to actually see if it's worth them risking their health and time to come out and have a look at the home. All right, gang. I hope that helped some of you. I'm sorry I did go for a bit of a rant there with the whole, style and no substance stuff, but it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and it's something that puts a lot of people off coming into the industry, and it puts a lot of people off staying in the industry as a professional because they feel they can't compete with the no socks and bullshit that goes on, when as a matter of fact they are incredible human beings with a great skill set with regards to handling people, and they just need to understand that they can be themselves and still win in this game. All right. Very important point to end on there. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Phil, Adam, other Phil, Jack, Gordon, David, thank you so much for joining me. Sky and the Gang, and everybody that's come and said hello on Instagram as well. I really appreciate your time and your attention. I do appreciate it genuinely. If you do have any questions, send me a DM. Post a comment on one of these and I'll get to it. But for now, take care. Look after each other, stay healthy, stay safe, and reach out to a couple of mates and ask them how the day's been out of 10, because you never know. You might be helping them out more than you think. All right, gang. We'll see you at 12:30 tomorrow, all right? You take care. Take care. All the very best.